The phone call came on a Tuesday morning in early October. I was in my office reviewing quarterly statements from my investment accounts when my estate attorney's name appeared on the caller ID. Stephen Morrison. We'd worked together for 18 years. He never called unless something required immediate attention. "Thomas, I need you to come to my office today." Stephen's voice carried an urgency I'd never heard before. "It's about Elizabeth's safe deposit box, the one we just discovered." My hand tightened on the phone. Elizabeth had been gone for 4 years. Ovarian cancer. 7 months from diagnosis to the end. "What safe deposit box?" "I found a key among her files while reviewing your estate documents. She never mentioned it to you?" "No, never." "Can you be here at 3? Please come alone, Thomas. What I need to show you, it's something you should see privately first." I agreed and hung up. Through my office window, I could see the Massachusetts countryside turning autumn colors. The mansion Elizabeth and I had built together sat on 7 acres in Suffolk County. 38 years of marriage. 28 years running my dental practice. We'd built something solid, something lasting. Or so I thought. At 3, I sat across from Stephen in his downtown office. He placed a small envelope on his desk between us. Elizabeth's handwriting on the front. My name. Nothing else. "The safe deposit box was at a branch she used before you moved to this house," Stephen said quietly. "The bank only contacted me last month during a system update. They'd kept charging the annual fee to an old account." He slid the envelope toward me. Inside was a single sheet of Elizabeth's stationery, her handwriting unmistakable, dated 2 weeks before she died. "My dearest Thomas," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. I need to tell you something I was too weak to say when I was alive. I overheard Christopher and Jason at the hospital 3 months ago. They thought I was asleep, but the pain medication hadn't kicked in yet. They were in the hallway outside my room." My throat constricted as I read her words. Christopher said, "How much longer do you think she has?" Jason answered, 3 months, maybe 4. Then we can work on Dad. Thomas, they were planning. They have been planning since I got sick. Christopher wants you to invest in his startup. It's fake. I had a friend check. There's no real company, just a website. Jason has gambling debts, $52,000. I saw the statements when I was looking for his insurance card to add to my hospital forms. I stopped reading, looked up at Stephen. His expression was grave, sympathetic. "There's more," he said gently. I forced my eyes back to Elizabeth's words. "They're going to tell you they need help getting on their feet. They'll say it's temporary. They'll make you feel guilty for having money when they're struggling. But Thomas, listen to me. I've watched them their whole adult lives. They've never stood on their own. We enabled them. I enabled them. I didn't want to admit it while I was alive, but I see it now from this hospital bed. Protect yourself. They're waiting for me to die so they can convince you to give them everything. Don't let them. Please. I love you. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. Elizabeth." The paper trembled in my hands. I set it down carefully on Stephen's desk. "When did she write this?" Stephen checked his notes. "September 22nd, 4 years ago. She died October 8th. 2 weeks. She'd known for months, suffered through it, written this warning, and never said a word to my face." "Is the letter enough?" I asked. "For legal purposes?" Stephen leaned back in his chair. "It establishes timeline and intent. It shows she had concerns about financial exploitation. Combined with other evidence, yes, it could be very valuable. But Thomas, I have to ask, has anything happened since Elizabeth died that aligns with what she described? I thought about the last 4 years. Christopher had moved into the basement apartment 7 months after Elizabeth's funeral. Temporary, he'd said. His startup needed time to get funded. Jason had moved into the guest house 18 months ago with his wife Rachel, just until they found their own place they'd promised. Neither had left. Neither paid rent. Both came to me monthly with requests. Small at first, car repairs, medical bills, credit card minimums. Then larger, business investments, debt consolidation, down payments. Everything she predicted, I said slowly. Everything has happened exactly as she warned. Stephen pulled a business card from his drawer. This is Michael Torres, private investigator, former FBI. Very discreet. I think you should talk to him. I took the card, felt its weight. Making this call would change everything. Not making it meant ignoring Elizabeth's dying warning. I'll call him today. The drive home took 35 minutes. I spent them replaying memories through a new lens. Christopher visiting Elizabeth in the hospital, always asking about the will, about my investments, about my plans. Jason whispering to Rachel in the corner during Elizabeth's final days. Both of them at the funeral, somber and appropriate, accepting condolences about how hard this must be, especially financially. I'd thought they were concerned for my well-being. Elizabeth had known better. The mansion looked the same as always when I pulled into the circular driveway. Same elegant colonial exterior, same perfectly maintained grounds. But I saw it differently now. The basement apartment where Christopher lived with his girlfriend, Ashley. The guest house where Jason and Rachel had made themselves permanent residents. My home had become their free housing for years. Inside, I could hear voices from the great room, laughter, the television. I walked past without stopping, went straight to my office, closed the door, and locked it with an audible click. Michael Torres answered on the second ring. 4 days later, I met Michael at a coffee shop 18 miles from my house, professional distance. He was early 50s, silver hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I've done preliminary research, he said, sliding a folder across the table. Your son's digital footprint tells an interesting story. He opened the folder. Inside were printouts, screenshots, bank records obtained through legal channels I didn't question. Christopher's startup, Innovation Tech Solutions. The website looks impressive. LinkedIn profile claims 15 employees, but there's no business registration in Massachusetts. No tax filings, no LLC paperwork anywhere. The address listed is a mailbox store. The phone number goes to a Google Voice account. So it's completely fake? Completely. The website was built using a template, cost maybe $300. He's been showing this to potential investors, including you. He's mentioned it several times, asked for $45,000 to bring on a developer. Michael turned to the next page. Jason, your younger son. This is more concerning. He has gambling accounts with 4 online poker sites. Total debt across all 4, $52,368. Exactly what Elizabeth had discovered. She'd known. She documented it. There's more, Michael said. I've been monitoring their communications. With your permission, I'd like to install discreet surveillance in your home. Audio only, no video, focused on common areas. I have a feeling if we listen, we'll hear something important. I thought about Elizabeth's letter, about 4 years of being used, about my own house becoming a staging ground for financial exploitation. Do it. The devices, actually just sophisticated audio recording equipment, were installed while Christopher and Jason were out. Michael's team worked fast, professional, invisible. Smoke detectors, clock radios, picture frames. 8 devices total throughout the house, all feeding to an encrypted cloud server only Michael and I could access. For 6 days, nothing remarkable. Normal conversation, television, music. Then on the 7th evening, I was in my office reviewing the day's recordings when I heard Christopher's voice from the great room. "I'm telling you, Jason, we can stretch this another 18 months. Easy. Maybe 2 years if we play it right." Jason laughed. As long as Rachel keeps him thinking we're looking for our own place, he actually believes we're saving up. Ashley's voice joined in. "What about the startup money? When are you going to ask again?" "Soon," Christopher replied, "but not yet. Don't want to seem desperate. The trick is making him think it's his idea to help." I sat frozen, headphones on, recording their conversation. My sons, in my house, planning how to continue manipulating me. "The thing is," Jason said, voice lower now, "once he's gone, the estate splits between us anyway. But if we can get him to invest now, that's extra. 45,000 for Christopher's fake business, another 40 for my supposed debt consolidation. That's 85,000 on top of the inheritance." Christopher's voice. "Mom's life insurance already came through, we got that. But the big money is the house and the retirement accounts. 2.7 million total. We just need to keep playing the supportive sons for another few years." "What if he remarries?" Ashley asked. "He won't," Rachel said confidently. "Still too devoted to Elizabeth's memory. That works in our favor. No new wife means no one else influencing the will." I removed the headphones, sat in silence. My office felt smaller somehow. Through the window, autumn leaves were falling. Elizabeth had been dead for 4 years. Our sons had been planning this since before she died. The next morning I called Stephen Morrison. "I have everything I need," I said. "Audio recordings, financial evidence, Elizabeth's letter. I want to create an irrevocable trust, and I want to begin eviction proceedings for both residences." Stephen was quiet for a moment. "Thomas, you understand what this means. Your relationship with your sons will be permanently damaged." "They damaged it themselves. I'm just acknowledging reality." "Irrevocable trust creation typically takes 4 weeks. I can fast track to 3. Eviction proceedings for residents without a lease require 60 days notice in Massachusetts. You'd serve them simultaneously." "Yes, and Stephen, I want to sue them for fair market rent. For the time they've lived here. 4 years for Christopher, 2 years for Jason, plus damages for fraud." "That's aggressive, but justified. Based on comparable properties in your area, we could claim $105,000 in back rent. The recordings support fraud claims." "Do it. All of it." "I'll start the paperwork today." The trust documents arrived by courier 2 weeks later. I spent an evening reviewing every page. My mansion transferred to professional trust management. My retirement accounts similarly protected. Upon my death, everything distributed according to my exact instructions, minimum required by Massachusetts law to my sons, $7,000 each. The rest split between the American Cancer Society, the dental school where I'd taught, and a scholarship fund in Elizabeth's name. 2.7 million protected from the men who'd planned to exploit their father's grief. I signed everything, scanned copies to Stephen. Felt lighter than I had in 4 years. If you're finding this story compelling, please take a moment to like this video. Your support helps us share more stories like this one. The eviction notices were prepared for both properties. Formal legal documents, 60 days to vacate, no negotiation. I chose a Saturday evening to serve them. Family dinner, I'd called it. First one since Elizabeth died. Christopher and Jason both seemed pleased. Probably thought I was finally ready to open my wallet wider. They arrived at 7, Christopher with Ashley, Jason with Rachel. I'd prepared a simple meal, grilled salmon, vegetables, salad. We ate with minimal conversation. They waited for me to bring up whatever had prompted this gathering. After dinner, I stood and retrieved 2 manila envelopes from the sideboard, set one in front of Christopher, one in front of Jason. "What's this?" Christopher opened his first. I watched his face drain of color as he read the heading. Notice of eviction. Legal language. 60 days mandatory. "Dad, what? Are you serious?" Jason tore open his envelope, started reading. Rachel leaned over his shoulder, hand flying to her mouth. "You have 60 days to find alternative housing, both of you. The basement apartment and the guest house are my property. You've been living here without leases, without paying rent. It ends now." "This is insane!" Christopher stood abruptly. "We're your sons. We're family." I pulled out my laptop, opened the audio file, pressed play. Their voices filled the dining room, crystal clear. "We can stretch this another 18 months, easy. 45,000 for Christopher's fake business, 2.7 million total. Keep playing the supportive sons." I let it play for 3 minutes, watched their faces. Christopher went from red to white. Jason couldn't meet my eyes. Ashley started crying quietly. Rachel just stared at the laptop like it was a weapon. I stopped the recording. 4 years of planning, I said calmly. Planning how to exploit me. Planning how to drain the money your mother and I spent 38 years building. She knew. Elizabeth knew before she died. I pulled out her letter, read it aloud, every word. The hospital hallway, the overheard conversation, the warning. "Mom wrote this?" Jason's voice cracked. 2 weeks before she died. She tried to protect me. Now I'm protecting what we built together. "Dad, please." Christopher reached toward me. "We can explain." I held up one hand. "Stop. I've created an irrevocable trust. Everything I own is now protected. After my death, you'll receive the legal minimum, $7,000 each. Not a cent more." "You can't do this," Rachel said shrilly. "We'll contest it. We'll fight." "With what evidence? The recordings prove fraud. Your gambling debts, Jason, your fake company, Christopher. Elizabeth's letter establishes my sound mind and her concerns. You'll lose." Ashley sobbed louder. Christopher put his hand on her shoulder, but his eyes stayed on me. Years of masks finally falling away. "The eviction is legal," I continued. 60 days for both residences. If you're not out by then, I'll have the sheriff remove you. And I'm suing you both for 4 years of back rent. $105,000 based on fair market value. "This is cruel," Jason said quietly. "We're your children. You stopped being my children when you started seeing me as a resource. You have 60 days. I walked out of the dining room, went to my office, locked the door. Behind me, chaos erupted. Shouting, crying, furniture scraping. I sat at my desk and pulled up the trust documents. Everything signed, filed, secure. 15 minutes passed. Then someone knocked. Christopher's voice, controlled now, calculated. "Dad, I know you're angry, but let's talk about this like adults." I didn't respond. "We made mistakes, but that doesn't mean you have to destroy the family." I opened my laptop, started documenting the evening. Date, time, who was present, what was said, everything Stephen might need. The knocking continued. Then Jason. "Dad, please. We'll pay rent. We'll do better. Just give us another chance." 60 days, I said, loud enough to carry through the door. Footsteps retreating. More whispered argument. Then the front door slamming 4 times, all of them leaving. I sat in my office until 1 in the morning. The house was silent, mine again, or would be in 60 days. I thought about Elizabeth, about her letter, about the strength it must have taken to write those words while dying. I pulled up my email and wrote to Stephen. Evening went as expected. They know about the eviction, the trust, the recordings, and the lawsuit. Please proceed with all legal action. His response came within minutes. On it. Well done, Thomas. The next 9 weeks became a masterclass in psychological warfare. Christopher and Jason tried everything. Week 1, they brought in family friends to mediate. I declined all meetings. Week 2, they had their lawyer send threatening letters about elder abuse. Stephen responded with the recordings and Elizabeth's letter. Their lawyer withdrew. Week 3, Christopher attempted reconciliation, showed up with flowers and apologies. I'm sorry, Dad. I was wrong. Can we start over? I accepted the flowers and closed the door in his face. Week 4, Jason tried the illness strategy. Rachel called, claiming he'd had a panic attack from stress. I sent a fruit basket. Didn't visit. Week 5, both of them staged a therapy intervention, brought a counselor to the house uninvited. I called the police for trespassing. They left before officers arrived. Week 6, desperation. They offered to pay back rent. I forwarded the offer to Stephen, who included it as evidence in the lawsuit. Admission of debt. Week 7, they stopped trying, started packing. I could hear them through the walls and floors. Boxes, tape, angry conversations. Rachel screaming at Jason, Ashley crying to Christopher. Week 8, I hired Michael's team again, this time for a different purpose. Install a complete security system. Cameras, motion sensors, panic buttons. I wanted documentation of everything on eviction day. The 60th day arrived on a cold December morning. I arranged for Stephen and 2 sheriff's deputies to meet me at 10. We gathered in my driveway. Official, legal, final. Deputy Martinez knocked on the basement apartment door. Christopher answered in sweatpants and a wrinkled shirt. Behind him, the apartment looked ransacked, half-packed boxes everywhere. Sir, this is a formal eviction. You have until 1 o'clock to remove all personal belongings. After that, anything remaining becomes abandoned property. We need more time, Christopher said flatly. You've had 60 days. 1 o'clock is generous. At the guest house, Jason opened the door before Martinez could knock, resignation on his face. Rachel stood behind him, arms crossed, defiant. I know, Jason said. We're leaving. By 1 o'clock, Martinez repeated. I watched from my office window as they loaded a moving truck. Slow, deliberate movements. Christopher made multiple trips. Jason argued with Rachel over what to take. Ashley sat in their car, not helping. At 12:45, Christopher knocked on my door one final time. I opened it. We stood facing each other. I hope you're satisfied, he said. You've made your point. My point is that actions have consequences. You planned to exploit me. I protected myself. We're still your sons. You made a choice 4 years ago. When your mother was dying, you chose money over family. I'm just respecting that choice. His jaw clenched. Fine, but don't expect us to be there when you need help, when you're old and alone. I won't. He turned and walked away, got in the moving truck. Jason followed in his sedan. Both vehicles disappeared down the driveway. My sons leaving my property for the last time. The deputies checked both residences. Empty. Martinez handed me paperwork. They're officially out. Call if they return without permission. After everyone left, I walked through the empty spaces. The basement apartment echoed. The guest house smelled like old takeout and stale air. I opened windows, letting December wind clean out 4 years of occupation. My phone buzzed. Text from Christopher. This isn't over. I deleted it, then blocked both sons' numbers. The lawsuit took 5 months. Stephen handled everything. Discovery revealed more than I'd expected. Christopher had also scammed 3 of my former dental colleagues, small investments in his fake startup. $7,000 here, $12,000 there. Jason's gambling debts totaled more than Elizabeth had found. $68,000 across 6 platforms. The judge ruled in my favor. $105,000 in back rent split between them, plus $18,000 in legal fees, court costs, fraud damages. Total judgment, $147,000. Neither had the money. The court ordered wage garnishment, 25% of anything either earned for the next decade. They declared bankruptcy within weeks, but the judgment survived. I took no pleasure in their financial destruction, only relief that Elizabeth's warning had been heeded. Spring came to Massachusetts. The mansion felt larger with just me in it. I started traveling, places Elizabeth and I had planned to visit but never made time for. Ireland in March, Italy in April. Each trip I'd take a photo and write her a letter I'd never send. Dear Elizabeth, saw the cathedral you wanted to visit. You were right. It was beautiful. Thank you for warning me. Thank you for being strong enough to write that letter. I volunteered at the cancer center where she'd spent her final weeks, helped families navigate insurance paperwork, sat with patients during treatments. Simple work, meaningful work. Every Monday and Wednesday morning. I sold the mansion in June, too large for one person, too many memories of sons who'd betrayed everything it represented. Bought a smaller place, 4 bedrooms, 3 acres, everything I needed. Before we continue, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. We share powerful stories every week that you won't want to miss. The estate trust remained intact. Cancer research, scholarships in Elizabeth's name, funding dental students who couldn't afford tuition. Legacy building instead of legacy protecting. On what would have been our 42nd anniversary, I visited Elizabeth's grave, brought her favorite flowers, sat on the bench beside her headstone. You were right about everything, I said aloud. They were planning it. They were waiting for you to die. But I stopped them. I protected what we built. I'm okay now. Finally, okay. The cemetery was quiet, just birds and wind through trees. I pulled out her letter, now laminated and carried in my wallet. Read it one more time. Her handwriting, her words, her final act of love. Thank you for being stronger than me, I whispered. Thank you for the warning. Driving home, I passed a coffee shop. On impulse, I pulled in, ordered her drink. Caramel macchiato with extra foam. Sat by the window watching people pass. An older couple walked by holding hands. Young family with a stroller. Businesswoman on her phone. Normal people living normal lives. Mine wasn't normal anymore, but it was mine. Protected, honest, free from the exploitation my sons had planned. That evening, my new lawyer called. Different firm, fresh start. Mr. Henderson, the cancer scholarship applications are in. We have 53 applicants. The review committee wants your input on the finalists. Send them over. I'd be honored. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. 53 students who needed help pursuing careers in healthcare. 53 chances to honor Elizabeth's memory the right way. Not by enabling entitled children who saw their parents as bank accounts, but by helping strangers who valued education and opportunity. I thought about Christopher and Jason, wondered briefly where they'd ended up, then stopped wondering. Their choices, their consequences, their lives. Mine was here. Small house, volunteer work, travel, scholarship committees. Peace purchased at the price of family relationships that had been transactional from the start. Worth it. Completely worth it. Before bed, I wrote in the journal I'd started keeping. Document everything, Stephen had advised. Good practice for legal protection and personal processing. Today marks 1 year since eviction day, I wrote. The house sold, the trust secured, the scholarships funded. Elizabeth's warning followed, her memory honored. No regrets. I closed the journal and turned off the light. Outside, Massachusetts summer hummed with insects and distant traffic. Normal sounds, peaceful sounds, sounds of a life reclaimed. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Thank you for listening. Sometimes the hardest decisions we make are the ones that save us. Elizabeth knew that. Now, so did I. Good night.